How do you get a job working on power lines?
Well, first you complete your education, get your high school diploma, your GED, whatever equivalent, and then there's a couple different ways you can go about it. You can apply at a utility company that works on power lines, and they can enter you into an apprentice program. Or you could go to a training school. They have training schools that'll enter you in, and they'll give you all your basic, and then pretty much give you a job opportunity and open the door for you. Pretty much simple as that.
Does it take a long time? Obviously, going through high school, going through all of that, but after you've gotten through that, the regular schooling, I guess, how long did it take after that, going through this apprenticeship program?
Well, the average apprenticeship program is about 8,000 hours. So depending on, that's 4 years roughly of work experience and education tied together. And then that'll pretty much get you your journeyman cards. Some utilities stretch it out a little further just based on skills and abilities and whether or not people qualify.
Do you think the school for becoming an electrician is harder or easier than finishing high school?
I think they both pose their challenges. High school can be pretty challenging itself, but there's a lot more technical information with regards to growing in the electrical field and understanding it. Of course, the physical work of it, can be challenging, but nothing too hard that anybody that doesn't commit themselves to it can't accomplish.
Are you afraid of electricity, whether that's getting shocked or anything like that?
Well, in our industry, we have what they call a healthy fear of electricity, because as beneficial as it is to use for lights and air conditioning, heating, it's also very dangerous if it's abused and misused. So we have a healthy fear and basically a reverence for it.
Are you afraid of climbing the poles?
That's actually one of my favorite parts. I like that. I actually enjoy climbing poles, and I don't think many people like that in our field and in our industry, and we don't have to do it very often because now we have bucket trucks and all kinds of things that can get to those places, but I actually enjoy it. And then you get up here somewhere and you kind of get in a working position, wherever you're going to do your work, and you would do the work and go on about your business, change that out, maybe jack some wire up or something of that nature. And
All right, so moving on towards tools, what tools do you guys use?
so with regards to a lot of the tools that we use, we have different compression tools that are battery powered, that have maybe great pressure, ability to squeeze the lines together, normal drills and impacts, things to cut, sawzalls. I mean, these are all normal tools that we would use on a daily basis. And then coming back here, a lot of times working on the poles, you always have to have hand lines running up and down, running materials up and down. This would be a harness that somebody would use to keep themselves protected in the bucket, to keep themselves secure in case anything were to happen. These are hoists that we use to pull the wires up. These would be a lot of the common tools that we have. This right here is my climbing bag, and inside of this we have a climbing belt, which this is what straps us in and holds us onto the pole. And then these are the gaffs that we would take and we would put onto our leg, something like this. And this would wrap around here. And this would go here. And that would go like that. And we would then remove this. This is a gaff guard. And then we would spike into the pole. And we would climb up using that belt and these gaffs here. In our warehouse kind of area, we have a couple what we would have pad mount transformers. These are what you see in a lot of your neighborhoods on the ground for those who have underground services. And I want to encourage folks that when you see those on the ground, they're not really like a jungle gym. They actually can be very dangerous. For some of the smaller ones, they might have 7,000 volts running through them. For the bigger ones, they might have 19,000 volts running through them, and so they could be very dangerous. These ones you would see hanging on a pole, you usually don't have to worry about being able to reach those. they're going to be pretty high up off the ground. But that's the same thing as that, only that one hangs on a pole and that one sits on a concrete pad on the ground.
Teacher question. Have you ever driven the big high wheel truck for working on lines off-road?
Yeah, that's kind of a miserable truck to drive, to be honest with you, because those big tires, they're not fun. They beat you up in the truck and move you all around, and they're really loud, and yeah, it's kind of an uncomfortable ride, but they do get you into places where you can't normally go in a normal truck, though.
What do you use to protect yourself from electricity?
So we use, if we're working up in and around electricity as regards to open lines and things of that nature, we have rubber hoses, we have gloves and sleeves on that are made out of a rubber material that are tested to be able to bear the voltage that, whatever we're working on. So we have a lot of protective equipment to put in between us and the lines so that we don't receive any flash or any contact that would put us in harm's way.
And can you talk briefly about staying away from any lines that are on the ground? I guess if something comes down.
Yeah, it's a rare occasion that the line would hit the ground and not open up and become de-energized, but there is those scenarios where it does lie on the ground and it is energized and it looks normal. It looks like a de-energized line on the ground or just a broken wire on the ground, and it actually has a lot of voltage running through it. It can be very dangerous. You really want to stay as far away as possible from that if that's even seen, because there's also something called a step potential, and the closer you get to it, the more likely you are to not even have to touch it, but you could receive electrocution by being too close to it. So it is a really dangerous thing that people want to stay away from this. And if they ever see the lines, they want to call somebody, make sure somebody knows about it.
Definitely. And two kids said they knew that electricity can start fires in their home. How does electricity start house fires, whether it's, like overloaded outlets or bad wiring? How does that play into it?
Yeah, so bad wiring is definitely a real issue. Sometimes people fix up their houses and they don't realize it when they drive nails into the studs or screws into the studs for the drywall. They penetrate lines and they don't know it, and it causes a little spark, and sometimes it doesn't trip the breaker. That could cause a fire. Abnormal voltage, if there's a problem with the lines inside the house. There's a lot of different ways where that can happen. It's not very common, but more common in maybe older houses that are older codes, or if there's just simply a bad line somewhere.
Is there anything else you think the kids should know about electricity or about your job?
It's a rewarding job. I think being a lineman is a very rewarding job because people like lights. They like heat, they like air conditioning, and I know y'all kids, they like their video games. And that happens because of electricity. So when the lights go out and the power goes out and we get to go out there and help them get that back on so they can enjoy the comforts of their home, I think it could be very rewarding.